Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his forehead as he stared at the display screen. 3 months of searching through the Kepler belt had given him nothing but space junk and broken satellites. His salvage ship, the Aurora's Edge, was running, low on fuel, and his crew was getting restless. "Captain, you need to see this," called Lisa Rodriguez from the engineering station. Her voice carried excitement that Jake hadn't heard in weeks. Jake floated over to her station in the zero gravity. Lisa was his best engineer, a woman who could make broken machines work with nothing more than spare parts and determination. If she was excited, it meant something important. "What do you have for me, Lisa?" She pointed at her scanner. "There's something big hiding behind that asteroid cluster. The readings are strange. It's made of metal, but it's not giving off any heat." "Signature." Jake looked at the display. The object was massive, easily 3 times the size of his ship. "Could be another dead freighter. We've found plenty of those." "No, sir," said Danny Walsh from the navigation station. Danny was young but sharp, with an eye for details that others missed. "I've been tracking this thing for an hour. It's not drifting like a dead ship should. It's holding position." Jake felt his heart rate increase. A ship holding position meant power. Power meant salvage rights and maybe enough money to keep his crew fed for another year. "Lisa, take us in slow. Danny, keep scanning for any signs of life or active weapons. I don't want any surprises." The Aurora's Edge moved carefully through the asteroid field. Jake had been doing this job for 15 years, and he'd learned that space was full of things that could kill you if you weren't careful. Dead ships sometimes had automated defenses. Pirates used fake distress signals to lure salvage crews into traps. As they got closer, the mysterious ship became clearer on their screens. Jake's breath caught in his throat. The vessel was sleek and black with lines that seemed to flow like water. It looked nothing like the boxy freighters and cargo ships he usually found. "Boss," Danny said quietly, "you should look at this." Jake moved to Danny's station. The young man's face was pale. "What is it?" "The ship's registry. It's human, but the design codes don't match anything in our database. According to this, the ship was built in 2157. Jake felt cold. It was now 2189. Humanity's first interstellar ship had launched in 2161. Nothing should exist from before that date. "That's impossible," Lisa said, looking over their shoulders. "The first human ships weren't built until after we made contact with the other colonies." "Maybe the registry is fake," Jake suggested, but he didn't believe it himself. The energy readings were too complex, too advanced. They spent the next hour circling the strange ship. It was beautiful in the way that deadly things often were. The hull was covered in some kind of material that seemed to absorb light. No windows were visible, but sensor arrays and what looked like weapon ports lined its surface. "I'm reading minimal power output," Lisa reported. "Just enough to maintain position and life support. If anyone's alive in there, they're in deep. Sleep or very good at hiding." Jake made his decision. "Suit up. We're going aboard." "Captain," Danny said nervously, "maybe we should report this to Earth Command first. And let them take our salvage rights? No way. Besides, if this ship is as old as the registry says, it might be an archaeological find. Those pay even better than scrap metal." The 3 of them put on their spacesuits and prepared the boarding. Equipment. Jake had done this hundreds of times, but something about this ship made him nervous. It was too perfect, too undamaged for something that had been floating in space for over 30 years. They used magnetic clamps to attach their shuttle to the mysterious ship's hull. Lisa found what looked like an airlock, though it was designed differently than any human airlock Jake had ever seen. "The mechanism is definitely human," she said as she worked on the controls. "But the technology is way ahead of anything I've seen. These systems are integrated in ways that shouldn't be possible." The airlock opened with a soft hiss. Inside, the ship was dark but not dead. Emergency lighting cast red shadows on the walls. The corridors were wider than standard human ships, and the walls curved in smooth lines that seemed almost organic. "Gravity is working," Danny observed as they walked deeper into the ship. "And there's atmosphere. Someone's been maintaining this place." They found the bridge after 10 minutes of walking. It was unlike any human ship bridge Jake had ever seen. Instead of separate stations, the controls seemed to flow into each other. Screens and displays were built into surfaces that looked like they could reshape themselves. "Look at this," Lisa called from what appeared to be the captain's chair. She had found a personal log device. Jake took the device and activated it. A hologram appeared showing a man in an unfamiliar uniform. The man looked tired, as if he had been carrying a heavy burden for a long time. Captain's log, Commander Ryan Blake, Earth Defense Ship Harbinger. Date, November 15th, 2157. Project Vanguard has been officially terminated. All records are to be destroyed. All personnel reassigned. They think the threat isn't real, that the signals we intercepted were just cosmic noise. The hologram paused, and Ryan Blake looked directly at them as if he could see into the future. "But I know better. The Watchers are out there and they're coming. This ship was built to fight them, and someone will need it when that day arrives. I'm setting the Harbinger to sleep mode. She'll wait until humanity needs her most." The hologram faded, leaving the three salvage workers in stunned silence. "Did he say Earth Defense Ship?" Danny whispered. Before anyone could answer, the ship around them began to change. Lights came on, displays activated, and they felt a deep rumble through the floor. A new voice spoke, clear and confident. "Welcome aboard the Harbinger. I am Lieutenant Commander Marcus Stone, Tactical Officer. You have activated our emergency protocols. Please state your current situation regarding hostile alien contact." Jake looked at his crew, then at the advanced technology surrounding them. They had come looking for scrap metal and found something that might change everything. "We're just salvage workers," he said to the air. "We don't know anything about hostile aliens." "Understood," the voice replied. "Initiating awakening sequence. Preparing for combat operations." Outside, deep in space, something detected the Harbinger's activation signal, something that had been waiting for this moment for a very long time. The signal from the Harbinger traveled through space at the speed of light, reaching ears that had been listening for exactly this kind of transmission. Admiral Kexathera stood on the command deck of the Sovereign's Wrath, his forearms crossed, behind his back as he studied the data. "The energy signature matches the primitive species from the Sol system," reported his second-in-command. "The same ones we have been watching." Kexathera's scaled face showed satisfaction. The Zephyrian Empire had been tracking dozens of young civilizations, waiting for them to develop space travel. Once they did, the Empire would arrive to eliminate them before they could become a threat. "Prepare the cleansing fleet," he ordered. 12 heavy cruisers should be enough to remove this infestation. On Earth, Director Helen Carter was having the worst day of her career. The emergency meeting room in the Colonial Defense Headquarters was filled with worried faces and flashing red screens. "Say that again, slowly," she told the technician who had burst into the meeting. "We detected an unknown signal from the Kepler Belt, Director. The transmission was encoded with old Earth military codes, but the technology signature doesn't match anything in our files." Helen rubbed her temples. She had been managing Earth's outer colonies for 10 years, and every day brought new problems. Pirates, equipment failures, political disputes between settlements, but this was different. "What kind of signal?" "It appears to be an activation sequence, like someone turned on a very powerful ship that had been sleeping." Before Helen could respond, another technician ran into the room. "Director, we have a bigger problem. Long-range sensors are detecting massive energy signatures approaching human space. 12 contacts, all larger than anything in our fleet." Helen felt her stomach drop. Earth's colonial fleet consisted of 15 ships, mostly converted cargo, vessels with basic weapons. They were designed to handle pirates and small conflicts, not a real war. "How long do we have?" "Based on their current speed, maybe 6 hours before they reach our outer colonies." Meanwhile, aboard the Harbinger, Jake Morrison was trying to understand what he had gotten himself and his crew into. The ship's AI, Marcus Stone, had been explaining the situation for the past hour. Project Vanguard was created in 2157 after we intercepted alien communications. Stone's voice came from speakers throughout the bridge. The messages indicated that humanity was being observed and evaluated for termination. "Termination?" Lisa asked, her face pale. "The Zephyrian Empire considers any species that develops faster than light travel to be a potential threat. Their standard procedure is to destroy such civilizations before they can become powerful enough to resist. Danny was staring at the weapons display that had appeared on one of the screens. These guns are huge. What are they designed to fight? Zephyrian, battle cruisers, Stone replied. Each one carries enough firepower to destroy a planet. The Empire typically sends overwhelming force to ensure quick victory. Jake sat in the captain's chair, feeling the weight of impossible responsibility. Why didn't Earth prepare for this? Why was your project canceled? Politics, Stone said with what sounded like disgust. The government decided the threat wasn't real. They thought the signals were natural phenomena. Project Vanguard was declared a waste of resources, but you didn't believe that. Commander Blake and I knew better. We convinced the shipyard workers to help us. Officially, this ship was scrapped. Unofficially, we completed construction and hid it here, waiting. Lisa was studying the engineering displays. This technology is incredible. These systems are integrated in ways I've never seen. How did you build this 30 years ago? We didn't build it entirely with human technology, Stone admitted. We had captured pieces of Zephyrian equipment from their scout ships. We reverse-engineered their designs and improved them. The ship suddenly shuddered, and new alarms began sounding. What's happening? Jake demanded. The Zephyrian fleet has entered human space, Stone reported. They are beginning their attack on the outer colonies. New Horizon Station is under assault. On the main screen, they could see feeds from the colony's cameras. Sleek alien ships were firing beams of energy that cut through the station's hull like paper. People were running, screaming, dying. We have to help them, Danny said. The station has been destroyed, Stone reported with mechanical calm. 1,437 colonists killed. The enemy fleet is moving toward Titan's Gate mining facility. Jake stood up from the captain's chair. How long would it take us to reach them? At maximum speed, 47 minutes. However, I should point out that this crew has no military training. Operating the Harbinger's weapons systems requires extensive knowledge and coordination. Then teach us, Jake said firmly. Jake, Lisa said quietly, we're salvage workers. We fix broken machines and sell scrap metal. We're not soldiers. Those are our people dying out there, Jake replied. If this ship was built to fight these aliens, then we're going to fight them. Stone's voice carried a note of approval. Very well. Initiating combat training protocols. Please be aware that the Harbinger systems are designed to interface directly with the crew's nervous systems. The process may be uncomfortable. Jake felt something connect with his mind, like a gentle, electric current. Suddenly he could see the ship's weapons, feel its engines, understand its capabilities as if he had been training for years. This is impossible, Lisa gasped as she experienced the same connection. I can feel every system, every component. Danny was staring at the navigation display with new understanding. I can plot courses through space that I didn't know existed. How is this happening? The Harbinger was designed as a neural interface vessel, Stone explained. Human intuition and creativity combined with advanced technology. It's what makes us superior to Zephyrian artificial intelligence. On Earth, Director Helen Carter watched helplessly as another colony was destroyed. Admiral Patricia Hayes, commanding the Earth fleet, was moving her ships to defend Mars, but everyone knew it was hopeless. Director, her communications officer, called. We're receiving a transmission on an old military frequency. The main screen filled with the image of a man in civilian clothes standing on an unfamiliar bridge. This is Captain Jake Morrison aboard the Earth defense ship Harbinger. We are moving to engage the alien fleet. Tell Admiral Hayes to keep her ships clear of the combat zone. Who are you? Helen demanded. What ship? We don't have any vessel called Harbinger. We're the ship that was built for this day, Jake replied. We're humanity's secret weapon, and we're going to remind these aliens why they should have left us alone. The transmission ended, leaving Helen staring at a blank screen. In the distance, long-range sensors detected a single ship accelerating toward the alien fleet at impossible speed. Aboard the Harbinger, Jake Morrison looked at his crew. Lisa was already integrating with the engineering systems, her consciousness expanding to control the ship's complex machinery. Danny had become one with the navigation array, plotting courses through dimensions of space that normal humans couldn't perceive. "Stone," Jake said, "show us what this ship can really do." "With pleasure, Captain." Initiating full combat mode, the Harbinger transformed around them, revealing its true nature as the deadliest weapon humanity had ever created. In the distance, the Zephyrian fleet continued its methodical destruction, unaware that their prey had finally bared its fangs. The hunter was about to become the hunted. The Harbinger moved through space like a living shadow. Jake Morrison could feel the ship around him, its systems responding to his thoughts as if they were extensions of his own body. The neural interface made him more than human, but it also showed him exactly what they were facing. 12 Zephyrian heavy cruisers, Stone's voice reported in his mind. Each one is 3 times the size of Earth's largest warship. Their shields can deflect nuclear weapons, and their main guns can crack a planet's crust. Jake watched the tactical display as the alien fleet systematically destroyed everything in their path. Titan's gate mining facility had lasted only minutes under their assault. The miners had sent out desperate calls for help until the station's power core exploded, taking 800 people with it. "How do we fight something like that?" Danny asked. The young navigator was connected to the ship's sensors, watching the aliens move with horrible efficiency. "We don't fight them," Jake said quietly. "We hunt them." Lisa was deep in communion with the ship's engineering systems, through the neural link. She could feel every component, every power conduit, every weapon system. The Harbinger was more than a ship. It was a predator designed for one purpose. "Captain," she said, her voice strange and distant, "the ship is showing me things. Technologies that shouldn't exist. Weapons that work in ways I don't understand." "Show me," Jake replied. The information flowed directly into his mind. The Harbinger's main weapons didn't fire energy beams like normal ships. Instead, they created holes in space itself, allowing the ship to strike targets from impossible angles. The hull could bend light around it, making the ship nearly invisible. The engines could fold space, letting them appear anywhere instantly. "This is impossible," Danny whispered as he absorbed the navigation data. "These systems violate everything we know about physics. They're based on Zephyrian technology," Stone explained, "but improved by human creativity. The aliens build efficient machines. Humans build machines that surprise them." Admiral Kexathera stood on the bridge of the Sovereign's Wrath, watching his fleet's progress with satisfaction. 2 human colonies had been eliminated without significant resistance. The primitive species was proving even weaker than expected. "Admiral," his weapons officer reported, "we are detecting an unknown contact approaching our position." Kexathara looked at the display. A single ship was moving toward his fleet, but it was small and appeared to be barely functional. Its energy signature was so weak it was almost invisible. "Another desperate attack by the primitives," he said dismissively. "Ignore it until it comes within range, then destroy it." "Sir, the contact appears to be an ancient human vessel. Our sensors indicate it's been adrift for decades. Then it's probably full of refugees trying to escape. Destroy it anyway." On Earth, Director Helen Carter watched the tactical display with growing despair. Admiral Hayes had positioned the colonial fleet around Mars, but everyone knew it was a hopeless gesture. The alien ships were simply too powerful. "Director," her communications officer called, "we're receiving another transmission from that unknown ship." Jake Morrison's face appeared on the screen again. This time he looked different. His eyes held a strange light, and when he spoke, his voice carried new authority. "This is Captain Morrison. We are beginning our attack run. All Earth ships are to maintain minimum safe distance. What you're about to see may be difficult to believe." "Captain Morrison," Helen said desperately, "you're flying toward 12 enemy warships in a single vessel. This is suicide." Jake smiled, and for a moment he looked like the salvage captain he had been hours ago. "Director, 30 years ago, some very smart people prepared for this day. They built a ship that was specifically designed to kill Zephyrian cruisers. Today, we find out if they were right." The transmission ended. Helen stared at the display, watching a single contact move towards certain death. Aboard the Harbinger, Jake felt the ship's excitement as they approached their prey. The vessel had been waiting for this moment for 3 decades, and every system was eager to fulfill its purpose. First target acquired, Danny reported. The cruiser designated as Sovereign's Wrath, Admiral Kexathara's flagship. No, Jake said after a moment's thought. We start with the escorts. Let the Admiral watch his fleet die around him. The Harbinger vanished. One moment it was on the alien sensors, the next it had simply ceased to exist. The ship's stealth systems wrapped space around it, making it invisible to every form of detection the Zephyrians possessed. Where did it go? Kexathara demanded, as his bridge erupted in confusion. The answer came in the form of an explosion. The heavy cruiser Void Render, positioned on the fleet's right flank, suddenly erupted in flame. Its shields had done nothing to stop the attack. The weapon had somehow appeared inside the ship itself. Report, Kexathara roared. Unknown, sir. Our sensors show no enemy contact. The cruiser just exploded. Before anyone could respond, a second ship died. The Warbringer's hull cracked open like an egg, spilling atmosphere and debris into space. Again, the sensors showed nothing. Jake felt the ship's satisfaction as their weapons found their targets. The Harbinger's main guns created temporary holes in space, allowing them to strike the enemy from impossible directions. The Zephyrian shields were designed to stop attacks from outside, not from within their own hulls. Target 3, he said calmly. The Bloodfang died in a burst of nuclear fire. Then the Starkiller. Then the Death's Edge. Each attack came from nothing, striking without warning, killing without trace. Admiral Kexathara watched his fleet disappear and felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. In 50 years of military service, he had never seen anything like this. Ships didn't just vanish and reappear. Weapons didn't ignore shields and strike from inside their targets. All ships, scatter formation, he ordered. Random evasive patterns. Find that ship and destroy it. But the Harbinger wasn't done. Jake could feel the ship's hunger for vengeance. For 30 years, it had dreamed of this moment. Every human death, every destroyed colony, every act of alien aggression had been building to this. Lisa, give me everything the engines have, he said. Already done, Captain. We're moving through dimensions the Zephyrians don't even know exist. The Harbinger appeared directly above the cruiser Bone Crusher, matched its speed perfectly, and fired a single shot straight down through its bridge. The alien ship died instantly, its command crew vaporized before they could react. Danny was laughing with pure joy as he plotted impossible courses through space. Captain, I can see places to hide that don't exist in normal space. We can attack from angles that have no direction. The 7th ship died, then the 8th. Each death was different. Each attack came from a new direction. Each strike proved that human ingenuity had found ways to kill that the aliens couldn't defend against. On Earth, Director Helen Carter watched the impossible battle with growing amazement. A single human ship was systematically destroying an alien fleet that could have conquered their entire species. How many ships are left? She asked. 4, Director. Plus the flagship. Admiral Kexathara stared at his display in horror. 8 of his 12 cruisers were gone, destroyed by an enemy he couldn't see, couldn't track, couldn't fight. His remaining ships were firing wildly in all directions, hoping to hit something, anything. Then the Harbinger appeared directly in front of his flagship, no longer hiding, no longer sneaking. It hung in space like a black arrow, beautiful and deadly. Jake Morrison's voice came across all frequencies. Admiral Kexathara, your fleet is finished. Your empire sent you to destroy humanity, but humanity was ready for you. We've been waiting 30 years for this moment. Impossible, Kexathara snarled. You are primitives. You have no technology that can match the Empire. You're right, Jake replied. We don't have technology that matches yours. We have technology that kills yours. The Harbinger fired once. The shot passed through the flagships, shields as if they didn't exist, and struck the bridge with surgical precision. Admiral Kexathara had one moment to understand that he had been defeated by a species his empire had dismissed as harmless. Then the Sovereign's wrath joined the rest of the fleet in death. The battle was over. The Harbinger floated alone among the wreckage of 12 alien warships, humanity's first victory in a war they never saw coming. In the silence that followed, Jake Morrison sat back in his captain's chair and tried to understand what he had become. Hours ago, he had been a simple salvage worker. Now he was the commander of the most powerful warship in known space. "Stone," he said quietly, "what happens now?" "Now, Captain, we prepare for the real war. The Empire will send more ships when these don't return. Many more." Jake nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. The Harbinger had won the first battle, but the war for humanity's survival was just beginning. The wreckage of the Zephyrian fleet drifted silently through space, twisted metal and broken dreams scattered across thousands of kilometers. Jake Morrison stood on the Harbinger's bridge, still connected to the ship through the neural interface, feeling both triumph and exhaustion. "Damage report," he said to Lisa, who was monitoring the ship's systems. "All systems operating at full capacity," she replied. "Whatever damage we took, the ship repaired itself automatically. Captain, this vessel is more advanced than anything I've ever imagined." Danny was studying the sensor readings from the battle. "I'm picking up debris from all 12 enemy ships. No survivors, no escape pods. They're all gone." Jake nodded grimly. He felt no joy in the deaths, even though those ships had come to destroy humanity. War was ugly, even when you won. "Stone," he said to the ship's AI. "How long before the Empire realizes their fleet is missing?" "Standard Zephyrian protocol requires check-in reports every 6 hours, Marcus Stone's voice replied. "When Admiral Kexithera fails to report, they will send reconnaissance ships to investigate. We have perhaps 12 hours before they discover what happened here." On Earth, Director Helen Carter was dealing with the aftermath of the impossible victory. The colonial fleet that had been prepared to make a final stand around Mars was now trying to understand how a single unknown ship had saved them all. "Get me Admiral Hayes," she ordered. Admiral Patricia Hayes appeared on the communication screen, her face showing the same bewilderment that Helen felt. "Director, I've been in the military for 25 years and I've never seen anything like what just happened. That ship, the Harbinger, it fought like nothing in our databases." "What do you know about Project Vanguard?" Helen asked. Hayes frowned. "Never heard of it, but if it was classified above my level, I wouldn't have. Director, whoever built that ship, they were planning for this war long before any of us knew it was coming. In the depths of space, far from human territory, Emperor Vexitai of the Zephyrian Empire received news that would change everything. His personal aide, trembling with fear, delivered the impossible report. "Your Majesty, we have lost contact with Admiral Kexithera's cleansing fleet. All 12 ships have failed to report." Emperor Vexitai was ancient by Zephyrian standards, having ruled for over 2 centuries. In all that time, no cleansing fleet had ever failed to complete its mission. The primitive species they targeted usually surrendered after the first demonstration of imperial power. "Send a reconnaissance squadron," he ordered. "Find out what happened." Aboard the Harbinger, Jake was learning more about his ship's capabilities through the neural link. The vessel contained systems that shouldn't have been possible with human technology from 30 years ago. As he explored deeper, he began to understand the true scope of Project Vanguard. "Stone, show me the ship's full specifications," he requested. The information flowed directly into his mind, and what he saw made him gasp. The Harbinger wasn't just a warship. It was a mobile research facility, a deep space explorer, and a weapons platform all combined into one vessel. More importantly, it wasn't alone. "There are more ships," he said in amazement. 7 additional vessels were completed before the project was terminated, Stone confirmed. Each one designed for different mission parameters. The Harbinger was built for stealth attacks and reconnaissance. The others have different specializations. Lisa looked up from her engineering station. "Where are the other ships?" "Hidden throughout human space, waiting for activation codes. The project leaders scattered them to prevent discovery by government inspectors." Danny whistled softly. 8 secret warships. No wonder they kept this classified. Jake felt the weight of revelation settling on him. Humanity hadn't been caught, unprepared for alien contact. A small group of visionaries had seen the threat coming and prepared for it, working in secret to build weapons that could defend their species. "Stone, can you contact the other ships?" Negative, Captain. Each vessel must be activated manually by authorized personnel. However, I can provide you with their locations and activation procedures. The reconnaissance squadron sent by Emperor HFY consisted of 3 fast scout ships designed for stealth and information gathering. They arrived at the battle site expecting to find Admiral Kexathera's fleet completing the destruction of human colonies. Instead, they found a graveyard. Command, this is Scout Leader Veltar. We have arrived at the target coordinates. The fleet is gone. The response from Imperial Command was immediate and panicked. Define gone, Scout Leader. Destroyed, Command. All 12 heavy cruisers are debris. We're detecting wreckage patterns consistent with internal explosions. Whatever killed them struck from inside their shields. There was a long silence before the next transmission. Are there any signs of the primitive species fleet? Negative. Command. We're not detecting any human vessels in the area, just wreckage and... Wait. We have a single contact approaching our position. The Harbinger dropped out of stealth mode directly in front of the 3 scout ships. To the Zephyrian crews, it appeared like a nightmare made real, sleek and black, against the stars. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Ship Harbinger. Came the transmission on all frequencies. You are trespassing in human space. Leave now, and carry this message back to your Emperor. Scout Leader Veltar had served in the Imperial Navy for 15 years. He had seen many alien species, fought in a dozen cleansing operations, but something about the human ship filled him with primal fear. What message? He managed to ask. Tell your Emperor that Earth remembers every colony you destroyed, every life you took. Tell him that humanity has been preparing for this war since before you knew we existed. Tell him that his empire's days of unopposed conquest are over. The transmission ended, and the Harbinger vanished again, leaving the 3 scout ships alone, among the wreckage. Veltar looked at his crew, seeing his own fear reflected in their faces. Set course for home, maximum speed. Back on Earth, Jake Morrison was making preparations for what he knew would come next. The Empire wouldn't ignore the destruction of an entire fleet. They would send more ships, bigger fleets, deadlier weapons. Director. Carter, he said over the communication link. I need to speak with whoever has the highest security clearance in your government. Helen Carter appeared on the screen, flanked by several officials Jake didn't recognize. Captain Morrison, I'm here with the Colonial Defense Council. We need to know who you are and where this ship came from. Project Vanguard, Jake said simply. 30 years ago, some very smart people realized that humanity was being watched by hostile aliens. They built 8 ships in secret, designed specifically to fight enemies we hadn't met yet. One of the officials leaned forward. That's impossible. We have records of all military projects from that period. No, Jake replied. You have the records they wanted you to see. The real project was buried so deep that even you don't know about it. And right now it's the only thing standing between humanity and extinction. He paused, letting that sink in. The Empire will send more ships, many more. The Harbinger can handle small fleets, but we'll need the other vessels if we're going to survive what's coming. Where are these other ships? Helen asked. Jake smiled grimly. That's classified, Director, but I can tell you this. By the time the Empire sends their next fleet, humanity will be ready. We've been preparing for this war for 30 years. Now, it's time to wake up the rest of our weapons. In the Imperial capital, Emperor HFY received Scout Leader Veltar's report with growing rage and fear. A primitive species had not only defeated a cleansing fleet, but had done so with technology that shouldn't exist. Assemble the War Council, he ordered. If these humans want a real war, we'll give them one. Prepare the Grand Armada. His aide's face went pale. Your Majesty, the Grand Armada hasn't been deployed in over a century. It consists of over 200 capital ships. Then it's time they saw action again. The Emperor replied coldly. These humans have shown they're more dangerous than we thought. We'll crush them with overwhelming force before they can spread their threat to other species. Aboard the Harbinger, Jake Morrison felt the ship's sensors detecting the scout ship's departure. Soon those ships would carry word back to their Emperor. Soon the real war would begin. Stone, he said quietly. Transmit the activation codes to the other ships. It's time to wake up the fleet. Acknowledged, Captain. Sending activation sequences, now. Across human space, 7 hidden vessels began to stir from their long sleep. Each one was different, designed for specific roles in the war that was coming. Together they would form humanity's secret defense, the weapons that had been waiting in the dark for their moment to strike. The Emperor thought he was preparing to crush a primitive species. He had no idea that he was about to face the most dangerous predators the galaxy had ever produced, humans who had 30 years to prepare for his arrival. 3 days after the activation codes were sent, Jake Morrison received the first response. It came from the outer rim of human space, from a ship that had been hiding in the shadow of a gas giant for 30 years. Harbinger, this is Commander Sarah Blake aboard the Retribution. We received your activation signal. Ready for orders. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Blake, the same name as the original project commander. Commander, are you related to Ryan Blake? He was my father, Captain Morrison. I've been waiting in cryosleep for this day just like he planned. More responses came in over the next hour. The Nemesis reported in from the asteroid belt near Jupiter. The Phantom emerged from a hidden base on the dark side of Earth's moon. The Vigilant awakened in the depths of the Oort cloud. One by one, humanity's secret fleet came online. Each ship was different. The Retribution was built for long-range bombardment, capable of destroying targets from light years away. The Nemesis specialized in electronic warfare, able to turn enemy computers against their masters. The Phantom was designed for infiltration and sabotage. The Vigilant served as a mobile command center and repair facility. Together with the Harbinger, they formed something the galaxy had never seen, a fleet specifically designed to hunt and kill Zephyrian warships. On Earth, Director Helen Carter was coordinating the greatest military preparation in human history. The revelation of Project Vanguard had shaken the government to its core, but there was no time for investigations or blame. The Empire was coming with everything they had. Status report, she demanded as she entered the command center. All colonial fleets are pulling back to defensive positions around core worlds, Admiral Hayes reported. The secret fleet is assembling, in the Kuiper Belt, out of range of enemy sensors. What about civilian evacuation? Ongoing. We're moving non-essential personnel to the inner colonies, but there's only so much we can do with the time we have. Helen stared at the tactical display showing human space. Red markers indicated enemy activity. Blue markers showed their own forces. For the first time in days, there were almost as many blue markers as red ones. Emperor Vextai stood before the assembled war council in the imperial capital. The massive chamber held representatives from every military division in the empire. Never before had such force been gathered for a single campaign. The primitive species has shown abilities we did not expect, he announced. They destroyed Admiral Kexathera's fleet using technology that appears to violate known physics. This suggests they have had contact with another advanced civilization. General Mordak, commander of the Imperial Marines, spoke up. Your Majesty, perhaps we should reconsider this campaign. If these humans have allies among the elder races, no. The Emperor replied firmly. If we show weakness now, other species will think they can resist us. The humans will be crushed along with anyone who helps them. Deploy the Grand Armada. The Grand Armada was the Empire's ultimate weapon. 250 capital ships, each one capable of destroying a planet. It was more firepower than had been assembled in living memory, enough to sterilize an entire star system. Aboard the Harbinger, Jake Morrison was meeting with the other ship commanders through quantum communication links. Their faces appeared as holograms around the bridge, each one representing decades of planning and preparation. The enemy fleet is massive, reported Commander Sarah Blake from the Retribution. Our long-range sensors count over 200 ships. They're not taking any chances this time. Commander Lisa Park from the Nemesis leaned forward in her hologram. My ship can disrupt their communications and navigation, but there are too many of them for conventional tactics. We don't use conventional tactics, Jake replied. We use the tactics they can't predict because they don't understand how humans think. He activated the tactical display, showing the approaching Imperial fleet. It was arranged in a perfect formation, ships positioned for maximum defensive coverage and overlapping fire zones. They're thinking like machines, Jake continued. Perfect formation, optimal positioning following their training manuals exactly. But humans don't fight like machines. Commander David Chen from the Phantom nodded. What do you have in mind, Captain? Jake smiled, feeling the Harbinger's anticipation through the neural link. We're going to do something they'll never expect. We're going to split up. The other commanders looked skeptical. Military doctrine said you concentrated your forces, especially when outnumbered. 8 ships against 250? Commander Blake asked. That's suicide. No, Jake replied. That's exactly what they want us to think. They're expecting us to mass our forces for a big battle. Instead, we're going to hit them everywhere at once. Each ship will strike a different part of their fleet, create chaos, make them think they're facing a much larger force. Through the neural link, Stone's voice whispered approval. Classic human tactics, Captain. Use their expectations against them. The Imperial Grand Armada entered human space like a moving wall of death. Emperor Vexatai himself commanded from the massive flagship Eternal Domination, a ship so large it carried its own fighter squadrons and support vessels. Deploy in standard cleansing formation, he ordered. We will advance systematically, destroying every human installation until they surrender or are extinct. The formation was beautiful in its precision. Hundreds of ships arranged in perfect geometric patterns advancing with mechanical efficiency. It was exactly what their military academy taught, exactly what had worked against dozens of other species. It was also exactly what Jake Morrison was counting on. The attack began simultaneously across the entire Imperial fleet. The Harbinger appeared inside their formation, striking at the command ships before vanishing again. The Retribution fired from impossible range, its weapons reaching through folded space to destroy targets on the fleet's far edge. The Nemesis turned the Empire's own computers against them, causing ships to fire on their allies or shut down their shields at critical moments. The Phantom infiltrated the flagship itself, sabotaging systems from within while the crew searched frantically for an enemy they couldn't find. Report, Emperor Vextai demanded as his bridge shook from internal explosions. Unknown, Your Majesty. We're detecting multiple contacts, but they appear and disappear faster than our sensors can track. Our formation is breaking apart. What the Emperor didn't understand was that he was fighting an enemy that thought in 3 dimensions while his forces thought in 2. The human ships moved through space in ways that Zephyrian tactics couldn't counter, striking from angles that didn't exist in their training manuals. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the Grand Armada was scattered wreckage floating in space. Of the 250 ships that had entered human space, fewer than 30 survived to limp home. Emperor Vextai himself escaped in a damaged escape pod, his flagship destroyed around him. As he drifted in space waiting for rescue, he received a transmission on all frequencies. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your Grand Armada is destroyed. Your cleansing protocols have failed. Humanity is not the primitive species you thought we were. The Emperor's face appeared on screens throughout the surviving Imperial ships. Jake could see the fear in his eyes, the understanding that his empire had made a terrible mistake. We have been preparing for this war since before you knew we existed, Jake continued. Every ship you sent, every weapon you deployed, every tactic you used, we were ready for all of it. Your empire's age of unopposed conquest is over. He paused, letting the message sink in. Return to your home worlds. Tell your people what happened here. Tell them that there are 8 human ships in this sector, and we know where all your planets are. Test us again and we'll show you what real war looks like. The transmission ended, leaving the Emperor floating in the debris of his fleet. Months later, Jake Morrison sat in the captain's chair of the Harbinger, reading reports from across human space. The Zephyrian Empire had issued new orders to all their fleets. The Sol system was declared a forbidden zone. No Imperial ships were to approach human space under any circumstances. Other alien civilizations had taken notice too. Species that had hidden from the Empire for centuries were beginning to communicate with Earth, seeking alliance with the race that had accomplished the impossible. Captain, Stone's voice said quietly. "We're receiving a priority transmission from Earth." "Command." Director Helen Carter's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired but satisfied. "Captain Morrison, I have new orders for you and your fleet." "Yes, Director?" "We've been contacted by a coalition of species that want to resist the Empire. They're asking for Earth's help in liberating occupied worlds. Are you interested in teaching the galaxy what human tactics can accomplish?" Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. Lisa was smiling as she worked with systems that had once seemed impossible. Danny was plotting courses to stars they'd never seen. They had gone from salvage workers to the crew of humanity's most advanced warship. "Stone," he said to the ship's AI, "what do you think? Ready for a larger war?" "Captain," Marcus Stone replied with what sounded like satisfaction, "I've been waiting 30 years to show this galaxy what humans can do when they're properly motivated. Let's go teach the Empire why they should have left us alone."